The Neo line of shoes represents a new kind of experience from Mizuno that I think is intended to reach runners who Mizuno has previously had a hard time reaching. And the Neo Zen is the daily trainer of that line. Last year's Neo Zen was exciting, but it missed the mark in a few key areas. Can the Zen 2 right the ship on Mizuno's Neo Endeavor? It's time to lace up the Neo Zen 2 and take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk about the Mizuno Neo Zen 2. Before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that was sent to me for the purpose of review, so I didn't have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and no one's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the Mizuno Neo Zen 2, and let's start with the specs. This is a 40.5 millimeter stack height shoe with a 6 millimeter drop, giving us 34.5 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. The material of this midsole is Mizuno's Enerzy, E-N-E-R-Z-Y, NXT foam, which is a supercritical EVA. And that's the only thing that's in this midsole shoe, which is unique for Mizuno because it is one of the very few shoes in the Mizuno lineup that doesn't have a wave plate or a sort of plastic plate that's in the middle of the shoe. Now, protecting all of this Enerzy NXT foam is a pretty full coverage of rubber that's on the outsole. And while there is a decent amount of thickness in the rubber on this outsole, it again is an area where this shoe separates itself from more the traditional Mizuno shoes because it is a lot thinner than what we've typically seen in some of the legacy models from Mizuno. Up top, we have a pretty big change from last year's Neo Zen 1. The first Neo Zen had a wonderful knit upper material that I thought felt really great and felt quite luxurious. There is still some knit in the Neo Zen 2, but it's limited to the tongue and a little bit around the top of this heel collar and into the pull tab. The rest of this shoe switches to an engineered mesh, which still is very soft and very comfortable. There is also a lot more padding all throughout the heel cup. As far as fit goes, I went with my regular running shoe size, and I thought that worked out really well for me. I went with my regular running shoe size with last year's Neo Zen 1 as well, and the fit is generous. It's more roomy than a lot of other daily trainers that are competing with the Neo Zen, but I also found that it was the right fit for me. I didn't find the need to size down or size up. Now, when it comes to the overall weight of this package, the Neo Zen 2 comes in a little bit heavier than the inaugural version last year. My Neo Zen 2 came in at a measured weight of 8.5 ounces or 242 grams.
Breakthrough, I don't wanna make you take two when I'm thinking of you. Sway loose when I'm sinking a boost. Two-way thinking of blue places that I'm gonna take you like. Breakthrough, I don't wanna make.
Now that we've talked about what this shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what it's like on the road. The Neo Zen 2 is a really nice update, especially in comparison to where it came from in Neo Zen 1. That last version was really comfy, but it was a bit on the mushy side. I enjoyed running in it. I loved how soft it was, but it kind of started to feel a little bit sluggish and heavy. I didn't want to run in it for very long. I think the Neo Zen 2 solves all of the problems that I had with the Neo Zen 1. They've done something to the foam and the geometry of the shoe, and they've tweaked it in a way that it rises up out of the compression of that foam in a little bit more of an energetic way that makes this feel like a proper daily trainer. And I think Mizuno has done a really good job of not changing the experience in the Neo Zen too much. They have been able to maintain that soft, cushy comfort of the Neo Zen from last version to this one, but they've been able to tweak the foam ever so slightly so that way it's a bit more energetic, there's a bit more bounce in the forefoot, so that way it's not a mushy shoe and it's a shoe that's willing to do some real work. But the shoe is still a Neo Zen, and it still has a lot of the same DNA as the original version of the shoe, and I still think it kind of fits in the same realm of use case that the prior version had. I think the shoe can do a really great job at your daily training, your everyday run, and I think that if you want to be extra comfy, go a little bit slower on a recovery run, or you're just going to spend a lot of time on feet during your run and you want to be really comfortable, I think the Neo Zen 2 could be a really good option. But when it comes to picking up the pace, I don't think that the Neo Zen 2 is a shoe that I want to use for daily training and also a lot of workout. So I think it's kind of limited in the speed dimension, but on the other hand, it's still really good in the comfort dimension. And so it's still a shoe that is a daily trainer that gives a lot of max cushion vibes, but this year in the update, it's a lot more runnable.
Breakthrough what I wanna make do. Take two when I'm thinking of you. Breakthrough what I wanna make do.
Now let's wrap up this video by going over the buying guide, and we'll also discuss some alternatives. The Mizuno Neo Zen 2 is a comfy daily trainer that balances softness and a little bit of stiffness. And I think it's an excellent update over version 1. The shoe is available now for $160, which is a $10 tariff more expensive than it was last year. And I think it also makes it a little bit overpriced for what you're getting in the shoe. If you're looking to save a bit of money, you can go back and look at version 1 in the Neo Zen version 1, but this is a slightly different shoe. The forefoot is a little bit more mushy than what we see in the Neo Zen version 2. And I find that I really only like to use this shoe as a max cushion kind of shoe and as a recovery run shoe. So it's not quite as versatile as the update. Now, before we get to other brands and what the competition is offering, there's one other shoe that I think we need to talk about from Mizuno, and that is the Neo Vista version 2. This is the other shoe in the Neo line of shoes from Mizuno. And the Vista is the max cushion to the Zen's daily trainer. And the shoe's a bigger shoe, has more cushion. It still retains the lovely knit upper material that Mizuno has been using, and there isn't any extra unnecessary puffy padding in the back of this shoe either. This is a shoe that I would really reach for those max cushion days, or if I'm doing a long, slow distance kind of run. I know that that overlaps quite a bit with how I describe the Neo Zen 2, and the Neo Vista 2 does have a wave plate in it that is intended to make it so that this shoe isn't just a max cushion shoe, but it could also be a long run shoe for some people as well. And so I view the Neo Vista 2 as Mizuno's shoe for a long time on feet, or for a very premium and comfy max cushion experience. You are going to pay for a lot of that premiumness though, because that shoe comes in at $200. Now let's talk about some of the other shoes that are out there on the market to see where the Neo Zen 2 stacks up. Now, the foam that's in the Neo Zen 2, that NRZ NXT, is a pretty unique experience, and there aren't a ton of foams that I think line up squarely head to head. But the first shoe that I want to talk about is a shoe that I think Mizuno is targeting when it is making the Neo Zen version 2, and that's from ASICS, and this is the Novablast version 5. Both of these shoes end up being about the same weight, and they have very similar silhouettes, although the extra tall pull tab on the back of the Neo Zen kind of masks it a little bit. But I think what both of these two shoes are trying to do is very similar. They're trying to provide a comfy experience in the heel and a bouncy experience up in the forefoot to create a comfy but also energetic daily trainer. And I think that when it comes to the differences between these two shoes, I think that the Neo Zen has the comfy part nailed down, and I think that the Novablast 5 has the bouncy part nailed down. So depending on what kind of experience you're looking for in your daily trainer, I think that's really going to determine which of these two shoes is better for you. The Novablast 5 though does come in a bit cheaper at $150, and I tend to prefer something that's a little bit more energetic out of my daily trainer. So for me, I'm preferring what's going on in the Novablast 5. And then the other shoe that I want to talk about is another shoe that I think does squishiness really well, and that comes from New Balance. This is the Rebel version 5. Now this shoe ends up being a lot lighter than the Neo Zen and the Novablast, and I think a lot of that is because they're using an EVA and PIBA blend, so I think that helps out quite a bit with the lightness. Also, this upper is pretty minimal. There's not a lot of unnecessary padding in the upper of the shoe, which I think lends to the feeling that I'm getting from this shoe, that it does comfiness really well, but it also does bounciness really well. And so I think that the experiences that I'm getting kind of in the midfoot and heel in both the Rebel version 5 and the Neo Zen 2 are pretty similar. I'd say there's a little bit more denseness to the cushion in a comfy, chill, relaxed kind of way. And with the material that they've chosen in the Rebel version 5, plus the difference in the geometry, there is a much more aggressive taper towards the front of this shoe. I think that it just feels like, and I think there also is less material in the forefoot, which lends to a more speedy toe-off sensation. And so again, I find the Neo Zen 2 being more of a relaxed shoe and does comfy really well, and the Rebel version 5 does bouncy really well. And the Rebel 5 is quite a bit cheaper at a retail of $145, so it'd be double the reason for me to go with that one over the Mizuno. So those are my thoughts on the Neo Zen version 2. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this shoe or any of the shoes that I talked about today, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?